Before we get into the video, man, make sure you sub up to my other channels. I got a 2K based channel, a gaming channel, and an IRL/reaction channel. If you're interested in any of that, man, links gonna be in the description. Or you could go ahead and go on this channel and click the channels tab, and all the channels will be there. Now, after 1089, man, it's a lot more speculation for us to start doing a lot more things to break down in this video. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. And if you haven't, go check out the video I made recently about York joining Blackbeard. But let's get straight to the chapter discussion, man. Now, look, y'all boys, like I said, after that last chapter, we got some things to discuss, bro. Now we're gonna kind of go in order for the most part, right? Before we get into that, let me know how y'all boys enjoyed that Gear 5 episode, man. As a person who wasn't caught up in the anime, I was like on the beginning of Wano and I watched the Gear 5. I might rewatch it again after I record this video. I want to watch it again, but yeah, I enjoyed the episode, man. Let me know what y'all think. But yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into it, bro. So we start off the chapter with some unexpected information. I'm not gonna lie, if you watch my live reaction, you know I thought when I was first reading the chapter that it was Blackbeard doing something with all the tectonic plates and all the earthquakes and stuff, right? But we're gonna talk about Blackbeard this video too, you know what I'm saying? We always gotta squeeze some Blackbeard in there. But anyways, man, the Lulusia whole incident, well, I guess that's not really the Lulusia whole incident, but just the Lulusia incident in general, right? We end up finding out it's a giant ass hole where Lulusia used to be, and shit looks very similar to Ennis lobby, right? But I know that was the first thing a lot of people thought was Ennis lobby, right? So we tried to draw a connection instantly. So I did my research over the past few days. I was going on Reddit, you know what I'm saying, doing my little due diligence, trying to see if anybody out there had pieced anything together, if I found any good theories to shout out for y'all boys, you know what I mean? But, you know, for the most part, I couldn't really find nobody with any good leads. For the only good lead I found was that it cannot be God Valley under Ennis lobby because of a statement from Ennis lobby when the Giants actually said they were guarding Ennis lobby for about 15 years. And we know God Valley happened about 38 to 40 something years ago. So we know God Valley is not what's under Ennis lobby. So the real question is, what do y'all think is under there, bro? I feel like maybe an ancient kingdom. I would say Laugh Tale, because I know that's been a theory by people for a long time, but I just like, what's the purpose? Like, if you can keep pirates from the One Piece by having Laugh Tale be under Ennis lobby, I don't think there's Laugh Tale under there. So it has to be the ancient kingdom or some sort of, all we know is 100% it's some shit they didn't want nobody to find under that goddamn Ennis lobby shit, all right? So that's one thing we know for sure. It's something they didn't want nobody to find. So I'm leaning towards maybe a civilization that was left towards the ancient kingdom. And this might sound like a stretch, but I don't know why I have this feeling. Maybe that island was home to a lot of the D clan or some shit and they sunk it. I don't know why. Those are the only two type of ideas I got right now. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. That's probably one of the most things this chapter that I'm still thinking about. But I know we're going to get more information later on, maybe in the next 10 chapters, to go ahead and solidify some theories and maybe let us be able to piece some more shit together, right? But like I said, let me know what y'all think, because that was real interesting, right? But my question is, right, if Emu's making this much damage with this shit, with these earthquakes, and this shit wasn't even, you know what I'm saying, he used this with a weapon, what could Blackbeard potentially do with his quake fruit? You know what I mean? I'm just throwing that out there. That's just something I thought about. But let's go ahead and get into the next topic, man. Now, another thing I thought about was how many times has the government done this, right? And is this why the One Piece world is so fucked up? Because we know the One Piece world got hella different climates all over the different islands. Hella islands be having crazy ass weather. Like, for example, right now near this Lulusia whole shit, it looked like it's hella rain, tsunamis, thunders, and earthquakes and shit, right? But for example, you could go to Ennis lobby where it's literally daytime 24/7, you know. Then that's just not to mention other islands like Wano that's weird as shit with the weather. Like, the One Piece weather has always been weird as shit, and maybe this could be why, because maybe these niggas is just flooding the whole goddamn verse up with these weapons. But like I said, how many times have they done this, right? Because there is no way you're just going around making gigantic ass holes throughout your whole verse, and this just the first time niggas have seen it, right? That just doesn't make sense. And another thing I just thought about while recording this video, it said this is the largest earthquake recorded in history. The Void Century would not be recorded in history. So that definitely just made me think it is something Void Century related down there under that in these holes. So yeah, that's 100% right there. That's what I think about that. But I don't know how the government had to at least have been. I feel like maybe by the end of the story we might find out that maybe at least feel like maybe at least five to 10 islands have to have been erased like this in history, right? Because there's no fucking way. Maybe even more than that. Who fucking knows? All the entire ancient kingdom could have been fucking, you know what I'm saying, sunk. And all that shit's underwater and shit. But we just don't even know it yet, you know what I mean? Next, we cut to Ivankov's island on Kamabaka Queendom, man, and we see him talking about the sea levels on the island, but we do not see that boy Dragon or Sabo, bro. So you know what that means, because the last time we were on Kamabaka Queendom, we seen them having the whole little meeting of discussing Emu and what Sabo saw. But they are no longer here, my boy. Now, I could be reaching, but I think Oda might have showed us this on purpose just to show us that Dragon and Sabo are no longer here. Yes, he is showing everybody's reactions to like what's going on in the world, but is evil really that important to where we just need him and his people's you know, suggestions on what's going on with the world? I don't really think so. I feel like he might have showed us this just to show us that Dragon or Sabo are not here, or they could just be here and I could be reaching, but I have to throw that into the video just to you know, let us know, because they could be on the move. I remember speculation was when Egghead first started that Dragon was going to pull up at Egghead, but we know the Garp situation has happened recently, so who knows? He could be on the move to Garp. Him and Sabo could have split up, and Dragon could be going to Garp. Sabo could be going to Luffy. Who really knows, man? But I feel like it was important that we did not see them this chapter. Now, after the whole Kamabaka Queendom and all the other parts around the world, we were getting little recaps and stuff. We cut back to Egghead finally, the main thing we've all been waiting for. And now we're seeing all the Vice Admirals being introduced. Let me know which Vice Admirals y'all think is going to be nice. This dude with like the long beard and the little sword on his head, I feel like he could be nice. That's really bad. I mean, I know Doll's also another character, but I feel like she might be kind of mid. But yeah, I don't think none of these Vice Admirals really gonna do anything, bro. Unless Oda decides to just get them like some weird broken devil fruits to fight, like Frankie, Usopp, stuff like that. But you know, main 3 Straw Hats monster trio, I don't think we're dealing with any of this, right? Because this part of the video, we're going to be talking about like matchups and potential character development and what this arc could entail for certain characters right here. So we're going to start off with Kizaru, man. Now, Kizaru, let's get into his potential character development or backstory first before we get into matchups. Now, we see him and Shikamaru had this relationship. We knew they had a relationship back then, even on Saba Odi. Him, Vegapunk, and Shikamaru all have some sort of connection. But now it seems as if we see the panel where Shikamaru's like jumping and he's happy, and Kizaru's showing off his light beams, and Vegapunk's right there and he's entertained by it and he's amused. You know, he's happy to be learning, right? But Shikamaru makes it seem as if he can't believe Kizaru would really come to kill Vegapunk, like they have some sort of connection. Now, I understand he was the one who he experimented his lasers on with the Pacifista, so maybe that's just why Shikamaru feels like they have the connection. But is that really it? Like, I feel like Shikamaru's smart enough of a guy to know that just because he went in here and did these tests on him and, you know what I'm saying, shit like that, that wouldn't really lead Kizaru to having these feelings for Vegapunk. Not in a romantic way, pause. But you know what I'm saying? Like, feeling like you should have the obligation to save the man. Something else had to have happened here. I feel like Kizaru could have been here for a minute, similar to how Kuma was. We know how Kuma was in Vegapunk's lab and Shikamaru was on... Well, I don't know if Shikamaru was on side of them, but he could have basically been just like how he was in this Kizaru panel. Had the same way how when Kuma was there, and then Kuma... Obviously, Kuma and Vegapunk have a lot more deeper connections because of the Revolutionary Army shit and Dragon and shit like that. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you going to a nigga lab every day, you getting some tests running on you, you develop somewhat of a relationship with him, right? And also, not to mention, Saturn was also shown in his first introduction when we figured out he was pulling up to Egghead. He met Vegapunk before in the past too. So these two characters have some connection to Vegapunk. Obviously, we know what Kizaru's is, but Saturn's is a little bit more shaky. I wonder what type of connections or relationship they could have. Maybe he also pulled up on Vegapunk previously, or you know, in the past or something like that, talking about inventions, or maybe telling him or warning him about voice entry stuff potentially. Who really knows, right? But now let's go ahead and get into some matchups. Now, as for who these two people will be fighting, Kizaru and Saturn, right? Now, I'm going to give y'all boys what I want to happen. Then I'm going to give y'all boys what I think is going to happen. Because, you know, these could be completely different things, right? Well, they're not too far off, but you're going to know what I'm saying. Now, I feel like it's obvious Luffy, I feel like it's most likely for Luffy to fight Saturn, okay? Saturn could end up being mid, and he could end up, and Luffy, and someone else could end up fighting Saturn, and Luffy could fight Kizaru, right? I'm not feeling it, though. I am not feeling it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Unless there's more Blackbeard pirate members on that ship, meaning like potentially Shiryu could be on the island and stuff like that, I don't think that's gonna happen. Because I'm gonna tell you this. Besides the Gorosei and Kizaru, there are no fighters here who you could view as potential top tiers. You can look at Kizaru, because of course he's an admiral, and then the Gorosei member, Saturn, and you can look at them and say, okay, these are potential monster trio fights right here, right? But outside of those two characters, who here is a monster trio fight? A Seraphim, maybe if we didn't beat the Seraphim already. Me personally, I feel like York called off the Seraphim, but we finna get to that in a second, right? Now, unless we beat the Seraphim, because let's say we beat the Seraphim, right? If we beat the Seraphim, Zoro can't fight S-Hawk. There's no purpose in that shit because they already fought we just didn't see it. So, and if Luffy fought the Seraphim too and he won, it's no point. Sanji, if he beat the Seraphim Jinbei, it'd be disrespectful as shit to make any of them niggas fight any of these vice admirals, okay? Like I said, Luffy could fight Saturn, but what I think is Zoro and Sanji should team up and fight Kizaru, bro. It's no one else for them two to really fight. If you let Sanji fight Kizaru, you leave the only potential opponent you leave is Zoro with his S-Hawk. And that could work if we find out in the flashback that York just called off the Seraphim and they didn't fight, right? But at the same time, it will kind of be like something we already seen at the start of this arc, but it could just be more in-depth. Who knows, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Zoro fights S-Hawk, Sanji fights Kizaru, Luffy fights Saturn. But I really want that team-up match, tag team, Zoro and Sanji versus Kizaru, and then Luffy can fight Saturn, and then the Seraphim are just, I don't know. That's the only thing, though, because, like, but I mean, if Luffy's fighting Saturn, Saturn might not be able to have time to give orders because he's busy fighting Luffy. But who really fucking knows how that could work? But, you know what I'm saying? Matchups are matchups. Y'all know what I want. Let me know what y'all want in the comment section based off of who y'all want to fight, right? Now, let's go ahead and get into this next thing, man. What happened in that day, right? Because as we get to the end of the chapter, we realize there's a lot going on here. We seen the little recaps and shit they're showing, along with the 4 Seraphim assigned to protect them, blah, blah, blah. The Marines are talking about who's all in the Labo phase and on Egghead Island, right? But when we cut to the final panel on the very last page, by the way, this panel is goated. You actually got the Straw Hats looking like straight up menaces. You got Usopp holding up the phone with the interrogation. You got Zoro with the sword to this bitch throat. You know what I'm saying? You got Luffy being confused. You got Nami looking menacing with the gun. You even got Rob Lucci in the background sitting back because he know he can't do shit to this Yonko crew now. It feels so good as being us recognized as a Yonko now. But anyways, at the end, this is a lot of questions. For one, Robin is not in this panel, right? I don't think she's captured, for one, because the Straw Hats would be looking way more worried than this if she wasn't captured. So I feel like Robin is probably doing Robin-esque things like how she normally does. And you know how Robin usually is off exploring something else or finding out information about something on the island with other people. Like similar to how at the end of Wano, she went off with Law and her and Law were discovering stuff about Pluton, right? You know Robin always does just like similar how in Fishman Island when she went off to look for the poneglyphs and she was looking at the stuff about Joy Boy on Fishman Island, right? So I feel like maybe Robin could be off for research or something, maybe looking at the old ancient robot. Maybe Vegapunk happens to have poneglyph rubbings here, something of the sorts, but she's definitely probably off doing some sort of research or something. She's not captured. The Straw Hats are looking too calm, right? Second thing, where in the fuck is Shaka at, right? Because I'm assuming we're in the fucking basement where York had Vegapunk at, right? That's the only thing that makes the most sense to me, because this is where York and Vegapunk were at. All the Straw Hats have made their way down here. If all the Straw Hats have made their way down here, then they had to have seen Shaka. Either Shaka's not dead, and that's why they all so calm, because you know he alive and he in the background chilling with Robin or whatever, or he is dead, and you know they haven't seen it yet. Or this could be a completely different room. Maybe they just really don't give a fuck about him being dead because Vegapunk can replace them or whatever, right? Because that's always a possibility. But not just Shaka. Atlas is gone, Pythagoras is gone, Lilith. All the other Vegapunks are gone here. There's only two, and it's the main body and York. That kind of worries me a little bit, because it's like, Lilith was set to, was in stone, right? She was in stone. Shaka's kind of understandable, because he was questionably dead before this chapter. But Lilith, Atlas came down here with Chopper and Robin. Chopper's right here, so where the fuck is Atlas and Robin at? Atlas and Robin could be together. But then you gotta go to the Lilith shit. Lilith was with Frankie and Usopp. Frankie and Usopp are here. Where the fuck is Lilith? Lilith could be with Robin, but that's a whole, but that at that point, man, it's like he really trying to fuck with us and make us think something happened to all these characters. And they could very well all be together. Maybe Robin, Lilith, and them are all tending the Shaka, or maybe all the other Vegapunks are just tending the Shaka's wounds and trying to make sure he's alive, and Robin's just doing research, right? That could very well be the case here, but let me know what y'all think. Now, the real question is, did the Straw Hats defeat the Seraphim or not? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they kept fighting them a little bit after, like, from where we left off, right? We knew they were in the middle of a fight. Maybe the fight went on for a tad bit longer, and then maybe York called them off, okay? That's how I feel. Because for one, in a day, all that shit happening and them niggas getting defeated, I don't think so. And another reason, right? Because if the think about this, Sanji was fighting the Seraphim by himself, S-Hawk, and Zoro and Luffy were with Lucci and Kaku. I know Lucci and Kaku don't make that much of a fucking difference, but you mean to tell me these two working together, who are stronger than Sanji, couldn't do shit to a Seraphim, but Sanji beat his all by himself? Unless that's just really the S-Shark Seraphim being weaker than the other Seraphim, then that could make sense. But I'm not trying to do Sanji dirty like that and just think the other Seraphim are that much weaker than another. That's another reason why I think the Seraphim shit was called off. And also, I feel like as far as with this Usopp Lilith shit, the shit's obviously been undone. And what, to defeat the Seraph, if you just regularly defeat a Seraphim, I don't believe that's gonna turn the power off unless you force them to just turn that shit off. So yeah, I feel like York called them off. We could potentially see the Seraphim fight again, but if we might even see it in a flashback just to see how they got the Seraphim called off of them and where the fuck they're at now. That could also be true. But yeah, I feel like they called them off. I don't think the fight was finished. Maybe the Seraphim come back out to fight. Maybe that's who was some of the Straw Hats fighting later on in this arc, like how I said. And now since we're at the end of the chapter, we got to go ahead and talk about some more stuff that wasn't talked about this chapter, which will most likely be coming into play for the next upcoming chapters, and we finna get these things out the way right now. One, will the government actually, work with York and save her? And we're going to talk about that first. Now, in this chapter, government wants to use York for the Mother Flame, fusion reactor, whatever translation you're more comfortable with, right? Now, it's obvious at this point, I feel like that the Mother Flame is a power source for some sort of weapon, whether it's an ancient weapon, some sort of creation, some sort of void century invention, something like that. We're leaning towards it being an ancient weapon, Uranus, that Emu probably has a hold to, but the Mother Flame is a energy source no matter what. I feel like the Mother Flame is not the weapon, it's just a power source, right? So, and they want this shit from York, and Emu wants more. Now, I don't know why when I read this panel, York was like, a request from whom, right? I don't know why. I feel like if York does end up still going down this route of wanting to be involved with the government to be a celestial dragon, I feel like eventually she will try to dig deeper and try to discover that Emu is a thing. Obviously, she doesn't know Emu exists now, but she knows that that these niggas want this shit from a specific person, or she's assuming that, right? Now, that could just be me reading a little bit too much into it, but if you watch the Blackbeard theory video that I posted a couple days ago, if you haven't go watch that, I feel like it was a good theory video. I said in that video that I think York will join Blackbeard because Blackbeard wants to be a king, right? And he wants as a country affiliated with the government. York wants to be a celestial dragon. Celestial dragons are affiliated with the government and they run certain countries. Now, I would not find it that far-fetched if they work together, join forces, York joined Blackbeard. York somehow becomes a celestial dragon, Blackbeard somehow gets his island affiliated with the government, and then this causes, and we already know Blackbeard is a nigga who wants everything for himself anyway, and he not leaving no corner unturned. But if York was trying to figure out who the fuck these niggas was taking orders from, Blackbeard would push for her to figure that out, bro. Because if Blackbeard knew he could stumble across some info like this, he would not pass that shit up. So that's another reason why I feel like that theory could end up happening. And that was just something that stuck out to me when I read that panel, because it seemed like she could tell the orders were coming from somewhere else. If York does not end up joining Blackbeard, then the government has to be the people who take her in. Either that or she dies. I don't see any other three options happening, only those three. And the real question is, like, what other islands does Emu want this shit for? Because if he's wanting more, this means he has more shit in his, he has more shit in mind to do with this. So is this nigga just on some fucking shit? I ain't scared if nobody find out. These niggas ain't finna question these gigantic assholes. Like, what's going through Emu's mind, bro? I feel like we need a little bit more exposition on that, right? But next, we're going back to some more Blackbeard talk, and I'm sorry if y'all tired of Blackbeard talk, but it is what it is. But where are the Blackbeard pirates, man? We didn't get it revealed this chapter. I thought we were going to, right? Now, you just heard me say I think he's saving them for the York team up shit. Could be possible, could not be possible. But minus the York team up shit, I had another thought that could be not even way better, but that could be just as cheesy as the York joining Blackbeard shit. We know it's probably Katarina Devon and Lafitte coming on this island, right? Now, what if we don't know how Katarina Devon powers works? And shout out to the YouTuber Tekking 101, because I watched his video and he said this shit and I really liked this part of this really wasn't a theory, it was just like speculation, but I really like this speculation thought process of his, right? He said how Katarina Devon has, like, I don't know what's the exact name of it. I think it's the nine-tailed fox mythical shit, right? So she can clone herself and transform into people. But we don't really know how the fruit works exactly. We don't know if she has to touch people like Mr. 2 did, but we do know a couple of things. She turns into the person, and her whole clothes changed into the person's clothes too. With Mr. 2, it was just his face and body, right? Now, it's a couple of things we don't know. We don't know if she has to touch you, kill you, what. But let's say she's on this island, right? And Saturn's also on this island. My nigga, what if somehow she turned into Saturn and she was, like, able to give orders to Seraphim? Bro, it doesn't even matter if, like, because I heard, like, the Tekken 101 dude, he was like, yeah, what if she sneaks into the Holy Land and shit? I don't think she would do all that, because I don't think Emu and them would fall for it. But like he said in his video when I was watching it, it wouldn't even matter if Emu fell for it or not, because she's sneaking in to these places and seeing what's going on. She can go to a regular random island in the One Piece verse and turn into a Gorosei member and give orders, and they're going to listen. Like, the Blackbeard pirates are going to do something this arc, I feel like, that is going to have a lot of niggas looking like they are even more menaces than what we thought. Or even more, deadly, cunning, well, whatever words you want to use, shiesty, I don't really give a fuck. But I feel like after this arc, the Blackbeard pirates will prove to us once again why you gotta watch out for these niggas, and you can't. You always gotta expect some bullshit to go down when they're there. Because whether it's them just coming to pick up York, them coming to pick up their own info so they can make their own Seraphims, whether they're coming because maybe Blackbeard wants to get a devil fruit from this island or some shit off the factory, who really fucking knows? But whatever it is, I know one thing. Blackbeard is leaving with something. I know y'all know that meme. Blackbeard is that meme. I'm leaving with something. He is 100%. But let's get into the final thing we need to talk about for this video, and that's what I think the Egghead incident would be. Now, the final thing we're finna talk about in this video is what I think the Egghead incident will be. I know I talked about it in a couple of reaction videos or chapter discussions when the arc first started, but now I feel like you got a better idea to determine what it could be. Now, the idea of Dragon pulling up still could be one of them, where the Dragon pulls up at the end and he helps Luffy kidnap or defeat a Gorosei member. I feel like that's still plausible. Or whether it's Luffy just defeating a Gorosei member by himself, or I don't see him capturing him. Because it's like, could Luffy capture Saturn? I don't know if he'd do that shit. I don't know if he'd fucking do that. Yeah, I could see it because Morgan's put in the newspaper that Luffy tried to capture Vegapunk, and it'd be interesting if he put that in the paper that he tried to capture Vegapunk, but the whole time he captured a Gorosei. That could happen. But I feel like anything Dragon's more likely to capture a Gorosei than Luffy, but Luffy could aid that. But it could just end up being Luffy beating the Gorosei being revealed to the world, right? That could be the obvious one. Second, maybe a Gorosei dies, maybe a Straw Hat dies, right? Or maybe the third thing the incident could be is just the island getting destroyed, like how fucking what was that shit O'Hara was. Could be a combination of shit. The island getting blown up, Agorase losing or being captured, and also maybe the fact that Emu gets revealed to the world or some shit. I remember I was thinking about that in the beginning because we know the Gorse knows who Emu is. So when we've been getting a lot of Emu focus lately, so who fucking knows? And Emu's been making a lot of bold ass moves. So that could be revealed this chapter too. But if I had to, not this chapter, this arc, my fault. But if I had to pick what I think it is, I would lean more so towards the Gorosei losing or being captured, and Dragon also comes in to do some damage. Then you're gonna have to top it off with the Blackbeard pirates coming to steal something from Egghead. I think all three of those things combined, Luffy beating a Gorosei member, Dragon potentially pulling up and capturing or helping beat a Gorosei member, and the Blackbeard pirates stealing some type of valuable information. I think all three of those things combined could potentially lead to the Egghead incident and what it is, and just the fact of the world knowing that the Gorosei member was defeated and that Vegapunk it's not working with the government no more, you know what I mean? But let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Yeah, like I said, I always enjoy doing this One Piece content for y'all boys, man. Sub up to my other channels if you have it. It's a break. It's a break currently. I heard rumors that we might get the chapter early anyway, so who fucking knows? If we do, we do. I hope we do. Shit, that's less time I gotta go without waiting for a new chapter, you know what I mean? But yeah, expecting our Kiji video soon, man. I'm gonna go ahead and record that for y'all boys, and let me know what y'all think about the stuff we discovered this chapter. If you got any good theories, man, y'all know I always like talking on the comment section, bro. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you had a nice day, man. I'm out.